What is up, all you growlers and squealers out there? Welcome to the very first episode of All Jai Myself. That's right, it's a play on words, all by myself. And you would have heard at the start my funny cover of the song All by Myself with my name in there and some little tweaks of lyrics to make it a little bit more appropriate. Um, Welcome to this show. This is a solo podcast. If you haven't seen any of my podcasts or you don't know who I am at all, my name's Jai. I've got a podcast called A Beer With, where I interview DJs, music producers, and industry professionals in the dance music industry, mainly in Queensland, but I am also branching out to the rest of Australia as well. So I'm really excited this year to get down to Sydney and Melbourne and do some podcasts with people down there because I really love that one as in person. So I want to keep it that way, and I'm going to travel around the country, COVID permitting. I was meant to do that last year, but obviously COVID put a bit of a dampener on that. So my name's Jai. I'm a DJ, a music producer. My name is Boy King Koi. That's my artist name. I own a recording studio, which we are in right now. This is the second podcast we've done in this space. I literally just did one before with MC Shock, who is an MC, or he calls himself. He says it's a toaster. I learned a little bit about like MCs and the difference between the dance hall toasters and what a hype man is. So there is a difference. I didn't know that before. So that was really cool to talk to Cam, and we've wanted to connect and do this podcast for a while. And he's definitely going to be on again because we talked for a while. He had to go somewhere, limited time, but so much value in there and so much awesome information for people to check out. So let's talk a little bit about this podcast, what this is going to be, and why I'm doing another podcast. I know I have a lot of podcasts and a lot of things on my plate, but I like to stay busy to stay out of trouble, as they say. And, I really do just enjoy this whole podcasting, expressing and giving your opinions on things and really helping other people. And that's what the A Beer With podcast is. And that's what, this is. This is not news. It's a little bit different. That's about documenting what's going on in COVID, which is one of my other podcasts, and then also the Workshop Live, which is where I sit down with artists on live on Facebook and talk about how we can maybe improve them, or just give them some little tips and tricks to improve their career in the music industry. So enough about those. What's this podcast? This is obviously a solo podcast. This will just be me. I'm all dry myself here, and I'm talking to you about things that I'm interested in. I love the other podcasts that I do, but they're always with other guests, and often it's got to be sort of a little bit tailored to them and what they do. This podcast is for me. I hope you guys enjoy it as well, and I am going to be, sharing a lot of information. There will be a lot of mindset, motivation, entrepreneurial sort of talk as well. If I'll tell you all the things that I'm interested in that I think I want to talk about. So it's obviously those entrepreneurial things and mindset and that kind of stuff, and really trying to motivate people to really start and give it a crack at whatever it is that you really want to do and you're really passionate about. So this first episode will touch on that, but that's one side of it. Obviously, DJing and music production and the whole music industry is something I'll also talk about because it's something I've been around in the scene for a while, and I like to share the information that I've learned through my experiences, but also through the guests that I've had on the show. I'm not so naive to think I know everything. And I've, sat down for over 100 hours with artists, DJs, music producers, and industry professionals, and learning from them and learning what worked for them, at all different stages in the music industry and their careers. So people who had sort of just begun, maybe one your shot, and then people who've been in the scene for, a decade or more, or even longer. So that is what, I'm drawing on that information from the music industry. I don't claim to know everything there is to know, and I often learn new things. And hopefully, we can learn some new things together. Some other things I'm interested in. I am definitely interested in sport. I did study physiotherapy and sport and exercise science for quite a while. I'm also very interested in research in the health field. I used to actually teach at uni, classes of 30 for research methodology. So I do really understand the process of research and all the things that come along with that. I am a bit of a nerd when it comes to nutrition, or at least I was. I used to actually purchase journal articles to read and stay up to date with all the very latest nutrition, knowledge and stuff that they're finding out, which it keeps changing at all times. They keep finding out new stuff because it's so complicated. I'm sure there'll be other things I'll talk about, in this podcast, and it's really just a podcast where I can talk about things that I'm feeling, and interests that I have. Um, so let's get started. First of all, the intro. What I said, growlers and squealers. So let's talk about that a little bit. The reason I say that is because my main podcast is called A Beer With. And if you don't know, growlers and squealers are like flagons or, big 1 liter, 2 liter bottles that you can take to, say, a brewery, and they will fill them up for you. And you pay however much it is for that amount of beer. So growlers and squealers, that's what that's a reference to. So it's not anything to do with sex, unless you want it to be. So let's talk about what this episode is about. We're going to talk about starting, the importance of starting things, and how. Oh, excuse me. I do drink on the podcast that I do, so I have had a few beers, but I'm used to it. I'm used to talking on camera, with beers. So today we're going to talk about starting. We're also going to talk about Clubhouse because it's something that is quite new to people in Australia. I know around the rest of the world people know about Clubhouse, and they're in there experiencing and using it. But I will touch on Clubhouse in a little bit. But let's talk about starting. So starting, so important, and there's so much to talk about in here. Starting this podcast, I just came up with the idea maybe a week ago. 2 weeks ago, and nowadays for me, because I've been working on this, social media, I've been working on the podcast, and music and things. Nowadays, starting or just doing something or putting the content out isn't even a question of should I do it. For me, it's just you've got the idea, do it. What's the worst that can happen? It can fail. That doesn't matter. And that's kind of why I do so many things. I want to be able to try all these new things, and it's like I'm juggling 10 balls at once. So it doesn't matter if one doesn't work because I've got other things that I enjoy doing, and that I think I can put time into. So that's why I do so many things. But starting, let's talk about why people don't start. To be honest, it's self-doubt. So people will put off things, they will procrastinate, they will come up with reasons why they shouldn't do something, which is, in everyone's mind. I still have those thoughts. Should I do this? Am I good enough? Why haven't, who would want to listen to me? What have I got to say? How am I so special that people would actually want to listen to me? And before I started my first podcast, A Beer With, I had all of those anxieties. I was worried if I would be good enough. Would people listen or watch? Would they think I sound like a dickhead, like a know-it-all, as if I know everything and I'm trying to tell people, what it is? I had all of these things. I'd never spoken on on a podcast. I never thought I would interview people. I was never on camera. When I was in, primary school, I was in the ESL program. They thought that I was born in Australia, but they thought English was my second language. I guess because maybe my English wasn't so good in terms of writing and all that kind of stuff. But so for me to do something like this was quite out of my wheelhouse, and I did have all the anxieties that other people have. And to be honest, I probably came up with the idea for my podcast 5 years before I actually started it. I changed the name. And to be honest, I think it was that confidence thing, that self-doubt. I didn't think I could do it. I had that voice in my head that said, you can't do this. And then it wasn't really until I saw some other guys, the MetaMinds guys, Dan and Eamon. Shout out to those guys. I absolutely love their podcast, and you should definitely check that out. But it wasn't until I saw them do it, and then my cousin's husband, who is now my cousin, he wanted to start a podcast as well. So that was a great motivator for me to pull my finger out basically and start, because I had someone else there to learn all the things with, and to bounce ideas off and really, speak with and be passionate about starting a podcast. So that's how it started. So I had all those doubts. I had all those, those worries and anxieties of, am I good enough? But what I learned was, first of all, when I did the podcast, it was so fun. I enjoyed it so much. It's I don't know how to describe it. Podcasting to me is almost like therapy, because you get to sit down with someone and talk to them in person for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, which is what my podcast is, my main one. And you don't really get that anywhere anymore. When was the last time you sat down with someone for 2 to 3 hours with no distractions? No phone, no people passing by, no getting drinks, going to the pub or anything like that. It basically never happens anymore. We've always got distractions everywhere. The only time it maybe happens is on a first date. I feel like I go on first dates a lot now. With the podcast, it feels like a first date because you're one-on-one. It's just you two talking. So I really love that aspect of it, that you get that human connection. And I really just loved it and fell in love with it immediately. So that first thing of, I wasn't ready to start 5 years ago, and then I got that confidence. And when I did start, I instantly fell in love, and kept going from there. But what I want to talk about is that fact of self-doubt. The fact that you you judge yourself. You judge yourself, and you're always your worst critic, as we all say. And so it's about letting go of that, because what I've realized eventually is that, sometimes you're not the best judge of whether something's good, particularly when it's you. Like I said, you're so self-critical. So these days, what I really try and tell people is that you're not the judge of whether something's good or not. And the only way you're going to know if it actually is good or not is by putting it out and letting other people have a look at it and judge it. So if you don't ever put it out there, you don't actually know if it's any good. So that's why I'm big these days on trying to motivate people and trying to get them to put that out there. Give it a crack. Have a go. What's the worst that can happen? It fails. And if no one watches or no one sees it, who cares? It doesn't matter if you put something out and no one watches it, because no one watched it. No one knows that you failed because they didn't watch it. I think people get too caught up on the fact of the likes, the views, and what I've really learnt from podcasting is that you have to love the process. And that's what I fell in love with immediately, was the actual act of doing the podcast, talking to people. I'm a big people person. I love talking and listening and getting people's stories and, connecting with them and learning about them. So for me, I really fell in love with the process of the podcast. And that was a big teaching lesson for me. It taught me that the process is probably more important than the end goal. So if you can actually figure a way out to fall in love with the process of doing it, it doesn't matter what the end goal is. I don't care if 1 million people see this podcast, or 2 people, or no one. I don't care. I'm enjoying doing this. So to me, I mean, that's a really hard thing to get your head around and to try and, because everything, social media and everything that's out there these days is so, everyone puts the best thing out of anything. And I'm really not about that. If you follow me on Facebook and things, and Instagram in particular, you'll see when I put out my remix for Art Supplies. Shout out to Jordan Art Supplies. You'll see that I actually, for the promo that I did leading up to that, the week of the release, the song is called Back in the Day. So what I chose to do was find heaps of videos, photos, and crazy moments in my life, to share and sort of say, look, back in the day, this is what I was doing. And I put a thing up of like all the crazy haircuts I've had. And some of those haircuts are so terrible. and stupid, and like we got drunk and bleached my hair in random spots. People just put handprints, whatever. We played the rugby grand final for college, and afterwards we were on the piss, and I just said to everyone, "Oi, here's some, I don't know if it's scissors or clippers," and I said, "Everyone gets a go on my hair," and I put that out there. I put it out there just recently because uh, uh, I don't I don't really care if if people don't. I'm not interested in portraying an image. I just want to be me and do me, and I enjoy that, and so that's why for me, podcasting and the whole process and falling in love with that process, and it's the same with music production. I love getting in the studio. I always say one of my most exciting, the thing I get excited about the most, uh, is being in the studio, having some mad drums laid down, writing a dope bass line, and then just sitting back and going, that I made that. That's cool. There's no one else there. It's not a club. There's no one hearing it. It's just me enjoying the process of creating music. And I'll dance around in the studio by myself and have a little bit of a fun time with that. But I love that process, and no one's there to see that process, which is fine. Like I said, it's the process. It's not the glory, or the glory is not the right word. It's not the fame or the attention that you get from it. That's the fun thing. It's definitely not as exciting as DJing, because you get that instant feedback. But that's why I love music production, and that's why I love podcasting and the whole process of improving and getting better at what I do. Um, so starting, let's go back. Clubhouse reference. Let's reset the room. We're talking about starting. So I actually was reading or listening to an audiobook. I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and this was about like different times of the day, different times of the year, and cycles we go through. And the human brain likes to start at the beginning, which makes sense. There's even songs about it. But we don't have to start at the beginning, and that's why starting at the beginning, that's why I let people like, oh, I'll start on Monday, the start of the week, or they're like New Year's resolutions. That's why that's so big, because they're like, I'll start at the start of the year. But that's really a terrible way for us to think, and it's built into us naturally. That's what we want to do, but it's so unnecessary. You can start today, and you should start today, whatever it is that you want to do. And that's why I really try and motivate people to have a crack, to really get out there and give it a go. If you love doing it, it almost doesn't matter if it works or not, because if you love the process and you love what you're doing, that's the most important thing. So I want to say to anyone out there, if you've got an idea, a creative idea, a podcast, you want to do music, it can be literally anything. I'm always here to listen and to maybe give you some advice or help if I can. If I can't, I can probably point you in the right direction, or maybe find someone who can help you. But I'm really big on that, because you never know what something's going to end up being, and where it's going to lead, and what's going to happen. And that's happened to me in the podcast. Now I'm hosting other people's podcasts for them and being paid. I'm also, doing podcasts live at venues. I'm also recording a podcast for the Maritime Union of Australia. That's right, recording a podcast for a workers' union. I never would have thought that I would do that. And it just all came from starting the podcast and giving it a go. So that's one big thing that I would tell everyone, is that you never know where it's going to go or where it's going to lead. And I would really encourage everyone to just start. There doesn't have to be an end goal. Just start. If you like it, keep doing it. If you don't like it, try something else. I really think that's what life's about. Trying all different flavors of things, and then, choosing what you like the best or what you enjoy doing, and then do that for as much as you can. That is, to me, what the meaning of life is. And I've talked about this on the MetaMinds podcast. And I truly believe that it's about finding out what you love doing and figuring out how to do more of that. It really is as simple as that. People try and, make it complicated in life, but I really feel that's what it is. And myself, I'm so happy with what I'm doing now, and what I get to do on a regular basis. So that's a little bit on starting. I think it's really important to, just give it a crack, give it a go. You'll see me do that all the time with things, even social media posts and things like that. I'll just post. I don't really doubt myself anymore in things. I just do it. And I think that's really refreshing. It's really valuable. And I even tell people now, when I actually feel scared about doing something, that means, to me, that's a trigger to do it. Because if I'm scared to do it, there's a reason I'm scared to do it. It's probably because I'm scared to fail. Unless it's, a physical thing where I could actually physically get hurt, or, risk money or whatever it is like that. But if it's just something that's a societal thing, to me now, that's a trigger to just give it a go. Why not? The worst that happens is I fail and I try something else. Um, so that's about starting. I really hope that you guys out there start something after hearing this and get motivated to start whatever it is you want to do, a podcast, producing music, DJing, or anything. Collecting stamps. If you want to collect stamps and that makes you happy, you should start doing that. It doesn't matter what it is. So I really would love some of you out there to start doing something. If you do start something after listening to this, please, please, please message me and let me know what it is. I would love to support and help out any way I can. You can, contact me on any of my social media platforms. So it's at Boy King Koi on all platforms, and a beer with you on other platforms. On all platforms for my podcast side of things. But just hit me up on Boy King Koi. I'm really easy to find. You can even send me an email if you want, boykingkoi@gmail.com. I check that every day, and I definitely will respond to that. So I'd love to connect with some of you guys and sort of like learn about what you maybe want to do and see if I can help. So the next topic that I said we would talk about and that we are going to talk about now is Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is a new app. It's a social media platform that started about I think it was May or something like that. It was mid last year, and it's been sort of, it's been really circulating in Silicon Valley and over in America and LA and all those kind of places, with lots of big players getting on board and really interacting and using the platform. So what is Clubhouse? Clubhouse. All right, so Clubhouse is an app on your phone, and what it is it's a series of rooms. I suppose you could call them chat rooms. You can start rooms. You can go into rooms. You can schedule rooms. You can, go into these rooms and interact with people. Now, it's audio only. There's no video. There's absolutely no messaging on the platform, and there's also no sharing of photos or videos. It's all 100% audio. And so, if it's strange when you first go in there, and when you do get access to it, I encourage you to try and get up and speak. So, the way the rooms work, the best way to describe them is like, I suppose you could call it a Zoom chat without video, but the way I like to describe it is like a seminar. Like if you go to a conference, you have people on stage, those people are talking and have microphones, the other people in the audience are listening. So when you go into a room, you will be a listener to begin with. There's a feature where you click a button and you raise your hand. If you raise your hand, that generally means you would like to be brought up onto stage to speak, and a moderator of that room might bring you up. There's so many different rooms and different things that you can get involved with on this app. So that's the basic general gist of how it works. It's like a chat room, audio only, and you can either choose to listen or participate. And now there are rooms for everything. And it depends who you follow on the platform as to what the algorithm shows you that obviously you're interested in. There's rooms from entrepreneurial stuff, brand building, social media, marketing, all of that kind of stuff. Then there's also stuff for music producers and DJs. I talked to a DJ in the UK on Wednesday night for about an hour, just one-on-one because there's no one else in the room and we're just having a chat and just speaking about what he does over in the UK. what's going on there at the moment, how their scene's being affected, and and I was explaining how it is over here. Um, Really great chat, and this is the power of Clubhouse. Out of all the social media platforms that I've ever been on, ever used, your Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, this is the one app where you actually make like real connections with people and like that. I was talking to a guy, I jumped into one of his rooms, and then I've seen him in a few other rooms and we've talked, and he's from Nashville. And so he's over in Nashville, and he's a singer. And basically, we were just talking in one of the rooms for a bit. And one time he said, "Oh, you're from Australia. I'd love to go to Australia one time." And I was like, "That's awesome, man. You should definitely come over. And if you do, you should come to the studio, check it out, and we should make some music." And then he just said, "Well, I mean, yeah, that's definitely awesome. And when I come to Australia, I'll do that. But we can make music together now." And so instantly from that, I've just made a connection with someone in Nashville who I've never met. And we potentially, after just speaking for a short amount of time, might be working on some music together. So that's just a tiny example of, the power of this platform and how you can really connect with other people, and genuine connections. So I really see this as a game changer. I've never been on a platform that has felt like this. I've never been on a social media platform that feels like this. And so I really do think that this could be a really huge thing in the future. I guess time will only tell. Now, the thing is, it's invite only. So you have to, when you get an invite from someone and you sign up to the site and you get accepted, you get two invites. I believe it's two. I had two invites. So you can give those two invites to people. You text message, that to them, and then you don't have any more invites. But the more you use the app, the more you provide value, start rooms, engage in conversations, and use it. You do actually get given more invites. So it's sort of a way of sort of making sure people actually use the app and engage. So I don't have any more invites at the moment. I wish I did. I would be giving them out to everyone that has hit me up, which is a lot of people, because I've really been hounding on how cool this app is and how much potential I think it has for the future. And there's definitely, I know that other apps are trying to copy it at the moment, or at least copy the feature and build it into their apps. Things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these things, they're experimenting with it because it's taken off so much. The other thing about it is there's not many people in Australia on this platform yet. So, if you can get on the platform and establish yourself, genuinely making connections with people and actually adding value and doing something cool, starting rooms, running rooms, doing shows, you really could potentially, use that following to build whatever it is you're doing, whether it is a podcast, whether it is your music career, whether it's whatever. Like, there's Star Wars groups. You can go into Star Wars groups. I was in a group the other day, and they were talking about like the Marvel universe and Avengers, how they brought all the different characters of different stories together, to you know to build this one awesome story of all these different characters. And they were talking about how they think that's going to happen maybe in Star Wars. Like, they're setting up all these different shows and movies and things of all these individual characters. And then the idea is that maybe eventually all those stories converge into one. And then that's like a movie like The Avengers or something like that. So it's really interesting. Like, there's rooms for everything. I've been in rooms where they're talking about relationships. So there's something for everyone in this app in terms of what they talk about and the content. And I really do believe that it's going to be something that's going to be really big in the future. And I've already made so many awesome connections with other people on the platform, and I'm really excited about where this thing could go. So if you're someone who wants to, do something, or you just want to connect with people, like, there's rooms where people just hang out and talk and drink or whatever. There's rooms for everything. And sometimes it's not a case of there's people listening. Some of the rooms, they'll bring everyone onto the stage so everyone can talk. and there's some protocols around how things work, and there's lingo, and there's different things that people do in the app that's sort of part of the jargon and stuff like that. So, something I said before, let's reset. So that's something they say, let's reset the room, because there's always a topic. Sometimes conversations get a little bit off topic in there, because, it's people talking, hanging out. And so that, people will say, all right, let's reset the room. And that means let's get back onto the topic that we're talking about. So there's a lot of stuff to learn in there. I'm still learning. Today's Friday night. I got on Wednesday night and went into my first room and started talking to people and checking it out. I've still got a lot to learn, but I really would say to anyone out there, give it a crack. It's really something I think is going to be worth your time, and I think you will actually love it. I've been listening to some people, and some people are on there 16 hours a day, because you don't have to always be engaging. You can just be listening and have your phone in your pocket. You don't actually have to be, part of the conversation. The great thing is you can go anywhere and do it. I was just walking down the road to get some food, and I was listening to a podcast, a room, and people talking in there. And I even jumped on for a little bit, and had a chat with some of the people there. So, like I said, if you can get onto it, you definitely should. If you want to get an invite, another way or thing you can do is to maybe use some kind of hashtag to ask on Instagram or something like that, if anyone has any spare invites that they're willing to give to you, because not everyone is trying to give out their invites and stuff all the time. Some people just have them and they just enjoy using the app. So if you really do want to get on, you can go on Instagram. I don't really know what you have to hashtag. Maybe you could hashtag Clubhouse, and then say in the post, does anyone have an invite spare that they could give me to get into the Clubhouse app, because I really want to give it a go. So if you're really interested in it, which I think you should be, maybe try out that little technique. All right, so let's talk about the studio. I'm in here now, obviously, and it is our new recording studio. It is still in the Wollongabba area. Diffuse Studios. Let me just get the sign. Bang. Diffuse Studios. That's us. We need to find somewhere to put that. We do know where it's going to go, but we haven't, sorted that out yet. So this is the new space, Diffuse Studios. It's still in Wollongabba, and it's far bigger than our old space. We used to be at the back of Frequencies. It was like a 4 meter by 4 meter room. This room here, the floor space alone is 8 meters by 7 meters, so it's a massive space. Very similar size to Frequencies in terms of the floor space, but the ceiling is high. It goes to 6 meters up there, and we also have another room which is sort of more a chill out space. We've got the fridge out there, the vocal booth is out there as well, and we also have 2 showers and a toilet. So this used to be a yoga studio, and I think that's why there's so many showers. But yeah, so we've got this new space. It's really cool, and we're actually we're branching out and doing other things. Whereas before our other space, we could only really do mix downs, masters, production, and the vocal recordings with the booth. With this space, it's almost the possibilities are almost endless. We've started putting the word out for band rehearsals, because it's such a big space, and it's very nice and new. It's dare say it could be the best band rehearsal space in Brisbane, because everything's clean, everything's new, and it's going to be fully sound treated like an actual recording studio. So you're gonna hear the pure sound of what you're doing. We've got a massive PA in here. The boys tuned it the other night and gave it a spin, and it is absolutely pumping in here. It's super loud if you want it, and yeah, really nice. So that's the band rehearsal side of things that we're doing. So if you do need a rehearsal space for your band, make sure you reach out. What else are we doing in here? Still all the same services we provided at the old space: mix downs, masters, vocal recordings, instrument recordings, tracking, things like that. And with this bigger space, we can actually start to do, like drum recordings and things like that, and maybe even band recordings if people are interested in doing that as well. Um, what else are we doing? Podcasts, obviously. I do my podcast here. And, like I said, I'm recording the podcast for the Maritime Union. So if you're interested in recording a podcast, we've got the space here, and we've got all the equipment. I've got all the mics, and where there's several of us are audio engineers, so we can help you to edit, produce, and, basically anything you need with that. Now, the other cool thing about this space is now that it's so big and we can do the band and the live stuff, is we can take artists from their bedroom to the stage. And so what I mean by that is, like, sometimes we get artists in here and it's their first time ever record. They've done stuff at home, but this is their first time ever recording in a proper recording studio. And we absolutely love working with people like that because we can really help them, to feel comfortable and get better and improve, and we really do like seeing that like I said, that the progression, and seeing them actually, seeing people fall in love with the actual process of recording, and seeing it come together and how it sounds to start, and really taking people through that process. But what happens when you've got a track, or a couple of tracks, or an album maybe, and someone says, "Oh, cool! I really love your music. I want to book you for a show." If you've never performed live, and this, you've only recorded, you need to figure out how you can do a live show. So if you're a rapper, maybe you need a DJ, but maybe you need to process your vocals in a certain way. And so we can walk you through the process of how you can plan out a live show with all the technical stuff, and really help sort of artist development, and bringing you from, like I said, the bedroom to the stage, putting on a show. Maybe you want a drummer, maybe you want guitarists and like a band to back you up. We can do that. We've got all the connections, we know the people, and you can come in here, we can rehearse, and you can actually, figure out an actual show. Another thing that's great is you can come and rehearse before your show, and then go and do the show, just so you've got the confidence and things there. So that's another thing that we're going to add in, and offer. I don't imagine it's going to be something that, we sort of probably would need to work with you a bit before we get to that stage. But if you are interested in just coming in to develop a live show, we're definitely keen to share any knowledge we have and work with you on that. Johnny, he's very much more into the mixing, mastering, and the live aspect of music. Like he's a master at that stuff. So if you need any of that, that's sort of what he does. I'm obviously more in the podcast space, the dance music, electronic DJ sort of space. Not that Johnny's not good at that; he's also amazing at that. But that's sort of what I do as well. And then we've also got Liam Hogue. He's come on board and he's sort of taking care of all the bands and the rehearsal sort of stuff. So big shout out to the two boys holding it down for the studio. Definitely. So the last thing, I'm going to talk about is the studio and the decor. So me and Johnny are similar age. We grew up in the 90s, and we love our 90s toys and figurines. So if you've ever been to the studio before, you will notice that we have lots of Donatello, Ninja Turtles around. I don't know where the others are. I couldn't find them, but we've got about 4 of these, all different styles, miniature ones, proper ones from the 90s, these sort of bobblehead type ones. And so we've also got, we've got a G.I. Joe here as well. So there's lots of different, things that we love. I loved, Power Rangers. I love Ninja Turtles, Transformers, all that kind of stuff. So, look, you don't have to, but if anyone wants to donate some 90s figurines, Ninja Turtles, they don't have to be Donatello. If you want to donate them to us, or you've got some that you maybe want to sell to us, we would absolutely love to have some more of those, figurines and stuff around the studio, just to sort of add to it. So if there's anything that you have that you want to part with, whether it's we buy it or you donate to the studio. We would absolutely love that, to see, and then you're part of the studio as well. So if you've got something that is just sitting around and you don't really need it or want it, make sure you hit us up about that, because we'd love to have more cool stuff in the studio, and I need to have cool stuff to start building a bit more of a set for the podcast to make it a little bit more visually interesting. So, yeah, that's probably going to be the first episode of All Jai Myself. We will talk about other things in the future. The episodes may get edited as well, and these will be shorter. They won't be your hour and a half, 2 hour sort of podcast. They're going to be this shorter format. So, I'm really excited about this one. I would love, people, if they enjoy the show, to give us a review, share it with some friends, follow us on all the socials. Make sure you really support, because the only way podcasts really make a difference or get out there is by people like yourself sharing the podcast, showing other people and saying, hey, this is really cool. I think you might enjoy this. And so I would really love if you guys could do that. If you could give me a rating or review on the podcast, that would also be amazing. For anyone who's on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. If you want, if you don't like it and you don't like what I'm doing, don't hit it then. I don't just want subscribers and likes. I want I want people who want to see what I'm doing to be able to see it. And if you're not really interested, then that's totally fine. I'm not for everyone, and that's I'm totally cool with that. What else have we got to talk about quickly? I feel like I had one last thing to talk about. All right, guys, I just had a quick break and I was racking my brain as to what I swear I had one more thing that I wanted to talk about today, but I cannot remember what it is for the life of me. So I'm going to, wrap it up here. I hope you guys maybe enjoyed or got something from this first episode. All Jai myself. Make sure you support. Make sure you get out there. Make sure you check out, all the things I'm doing. There's so many more things that are coming and in the works that I can't really speak about yet. But when I can announce them, I'll definitely let you guys know. And I really appreciate you tuning in and listening to the show, because without you guys, it's just me sitting here talking into a mic, and that would be pretty boring. So thank you so much, for tuning in for this first episode. I hope you enjoy, the intro music, which I haven't made yet. So hopefully it turns out well. So I hope you enjoy that, and I really appreciate all the support everyone is giving, to me and the Brisbane music scene. Let's really blow this thing up, guys. And I hope you guys have loved this first episode, or at least liked it. So yeah, I would really appreciate any support. And so as always, guys, I hope you're having a great day or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys soon for the next episode. Peace.